Hello again, I'm Braddock Supervisor John Cook. Welcome back to Braddock Neighborhood News, the program I am using to provide you with information on issues facing our community and ideas on how we can strengthen our neighborhoods. This month, I'm pleased to welcome McLaughlin, the Braddock District School Board member, and Judy Dioquino, the Lake Braddock Secondary School PTSA President. Our great school system is one of the reasons Fairfax County is such a great place to live. The education that our children get is second to none and wouldn't be possible if it weren't for our dedicated teachers, PTSA volunteers, and school board members. Megan, Judy, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what your various roles are. Megan, you're an elected school board member. What's that mean and what do you do in your job?
Well, I was elected in November of 2011. It's a 4-year term, and I was elected by the Braddock District voters, as you were, a supervisor. And so in that 4-year term, it's my goal to work with the other 11 school board members from around the county to look at the governance of our school system. You know, are we providing the best policies and the practices so that our students can be academically successful? And to ensure that everything that we do as a school system continues to promote student success.
And you've got 9 district school board members, just as we have in our Board of Supervisors, and then you have 3 at-large school board members.
That's correct. We have 3 school board members who represent the entire county.
And then your board hires a superintendent, oversees the administration of the school system.
That's correct, and this is going to be a really big year for us in 2013 because we will be selecting a new superintendent probably by late springtime. So it's exciting.
And a big part of, I think, what makes Fairfax schools so special is we have a lot of parent involvement. And Judy, you know a lot about that because you're one of those parents that are so involved.
Yes.
PTSA, talk about what that is and more broadly all the different ways that, that parents are involved in our schools.
Certainly. The PTA, we like to look broadly on our school system and the children that it serves, and we're advocates for them if there's any issues or changes that need to be made. We also try to support the schools, and we have volunteers that come out and do various activities, whether it's inside the school or out. At the secondary level, it's not within the classrooms, but we really need a lot of volunteering to support the staff there. So, and then we also help with after-school things, activities.
Right, and our high school PTAs are known as PTSAs, but it's all sort of the same thing, right?
Well,
organized a little differently.
Right. I mean, we actually have about 45 students on our board that come to our monthly meetings, and it's been great because they give us feedback. They take surveys. We'll send them out with certain questions to see what they think of this and that, which is, you know, really what we really want from everybody. So they come back with all kinds of information, and then our principal generally acts upon them. So it's been great.
And that's important for people to know that there really is a mechanism out there that the average citizen, the average parent who wants to be involved or has a concern or has something to offer, please come get involved in your PTA in the elementary school level, PTSA in your high school, because it makes a difference.
Absolutely. And there's, you know, most of the schools in Fairfax County have websites for the PTAs. And in that we're almost halfway through the school year, it's easy just to go to their website and sign up from there.
And Megan, I know that when a PTA has an opinion on an issue, it's certainly something the school board wants to know about. Your board, just as our Board of Supervisors, we're always looking for community input. So talk a little bit about the importance to you of having strong PTSAs and PTAs.
It's extremely important to me. I actually am a parent of 3 students currently in Fairfax schools, 2 at the high school level, 1 at the middle school level. And I got my start as a community advocate on the PTAs, and being able to communicate with our school board long ago when my children were in elementary school. And that was my first real way of recognizing that these PTAs make a huge difference. And I really applaud schools like Lake Braddock that include the students at that secondary school level. As a school board member, I have attended those meetings, and to hear the students speak directly on anything like the online textbooks, how does that impact their learning? it's really one of the most valuable things that our school system, our school board can really hearing directly from the students, the teachers, and the parents.
Right.
So I always say email me, especially those who are being represented here in Braddock. I really want to know people's views.
You know, I think one of the strengths of the way we do things in the county is that we have a lot of community involvement in the schools, a lot of parent involvement. Many times there are parent groups, whether it's a PTA or another organization, that may be at odds with the school administration or with the school board. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes that debate, that back and forth, from that, it might be a little messy, but from that can come some good things. And Judy, don't you find that in that back and forth, in that involvement, that you know, the idea is to get to a good answer.
Right, and you absolutely see the passion in parents today in Fairfax County over those issues. But to me, the problems that I face with the parents, if it's on a local level, like as far as our school is concerned, maybe start times on different events, something local, then we tend to settle it here. But if it's a broader spectrum issue that involves all of Fairfax County, I always recommend that they go to the school board, our school board member, and you know, take it to them so that they can also look. And they hear, I know, a lot of opinions. And often I'll go to different meetings on different topics, and I'll solicit my parents and say, you know, do you have any suggestions? How do you feel about this and that? And then I take their suggestions with me.
And that's been a pattern, everything from debates we've had over the years with school start times and bus routes and redistricting or drawing the boundary lines and all these things that are difficult. I'm glad you get to deal with all those and I don't have to, because those are some of the toughest decisions in government, to move a school line. But to have that parent involvement has meant something.
I think it's critical, and we're so fortunate, as you know, living here in Fairfax County, that we have one of the highest per capita of college graduates. People are very well informed, and they care about the schools. They've invested in finding a wonderful place to raise their children, and so we need to honor their investment and their commitment in wanting to maintain strong schools. So I think that when a school system creates a culture that says we want to hear diverse viewpoints so that we can hopefully consider a very complex issue from all angles, then I think you're right. We will end up arriving at a much better decision. And so I was one of those parent advocates that it was based on, let's look at the data, let's look at the information from all angles, and I think that helps the school system perform better.
And I know when I was on my PTA board before I was elected, one of the struggles we often would have is, how can we get all of our parents' views? Because not everybody's involved in the PTA, PTSA, especially often immigrant families. Many times parents are working 2 or 3 jobs. They can't come to meetings, language issues. And I know we spent a lot of effort to say, how can we reach out? And Judy, I know you do the same thing at Lake Braddock.
Absolutely. Lake Braddock is probably the one school that is the profile of Fairfax County and its diversity. So we take it seriously, and we have certain booster clubs and interpreters that meet with parents with questions and all, but it's still hard to get past some of the issues of having, there's like a fear factor in some of the cultures to walk into the building, and we have to get past that too. But we focus on that quite a bit. I know that the school itself focuses on it and the learning of the kids also.
And we all learn in that process, and one of the great side benefits of our school system is, because it does bring the whole population together, is we all learn about each other. And if you're a parent, you learn through your schools about a diverse culture, because your kids are friends with people from all over the world, literally, which is a tremendous opportunity for our kids.
It is.
And sometimes as parents, we're behind the curve on that.
No, it is such a gift.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people live in Fairfax County, is that gift. We're exposed to so many different cultures and languages and customs that it is truly a gift for our kids to receive all that information growing up.
It's also complex from a policy-making standpoint, as Megan knows, and as we experience on our board, because it makes every issue more complicated. So you have to think through it more. There are more viewpoints and angles to look at, but that's part of what we try to do.
That's right. With this change of times and the more diverse that our population becomes, we do need to look at that the services we have been delivering may not really be able to meet the needs of all students, and so how do we balance those additional demands and still ensure that each and every child is going to get the services and the resources they need. So it is more complex. But the good news is that it's happening at the national level. And one of the things I'm encouraging our school system and our school board is to look at other counties and try to learn from their successes. And how do you respond and develop a school system as you become more diverse and you have more diverse needs.
And Judy, along those lines, when we're talking about what are sort of the issues of concern from the parents' perspective and from the organizational perspective, what are sort of the top 2 or 3 or 4 issues that PTAs are looking at this year?
Well, I think one of our the major problem that we're having is the online textbooks. That's been even though, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from parents, even though they see it as a way of the future, it's just not practical. You might have 1 or 2, 3, 4 kids in the house, and so they would have to have access to.
I'm familiar with that.
Yes,
issue.
and they're running over to a soccer game and this and that, and even if the parent wants to use the computer at night, it's impossible because a lot of these books are online now. Dr. Dale has met with us, the leaders in the community, and let us know in the secondary school where we did have math online now, we're issuing books back because they found math wasn't particularly an area that benefits from the online, but we are moving forward with science and language arts, and that's a concern. I mean, everybody likes the whole virtual learning and what it can illustrate and afford for kids to broaden their minds, but it just doesn't work in today's household yet. We're not that advanced.
Well, and I'd like to comment on that because it's been one of the signature issues I've been dealing with this fall. I had stated to the board and to the superintendent that I had real concerns about online textbooks being used as a substitute to our student learning. I think it can supplement the hard copy textbooks, but as Judy pointed out, we're talking about the transportability for students when they're out of school. They've got their practices, they've got their doctor's appointments, and frankly, access. We not only have the challenge of how many computers are in a household, and you're asking students to do hours of homework on a computer, and there's simply not enough hours in the day for multiple children to access the home computer. And then we have the access issue for those who don't have a home computer. So I think that the challenge our school system faced is that it's been an exciting movement to move toward online textbooks, and the Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, was promoting it and looking to other countries and saying we should be doing this. But I'm looking forward to our board really saying, what? We've heard from the public. Thankfully, schools like Lake Braddock have come forward and said, here are the real hurdles we've had. Oakton High School PTSA president also has been an amazing advocate, brought the research to the table. And I'd like to reassure, the community that I think our board is going to be very careful in how we adopt our textbooks for science and language arts, because right now for social studies and math, we've done this, and I think we still need a hybrid at this point. Basically, we need the hard copies with the supplement of the online.
Right.
And that issue's a great example of where the voice of parents really mattered, because it may very well be that in the ivory tower someplace, what a great idea, but Judy, as you made the point, I've got 3 school-age kids in my house, and I work remotely at night from home too. And you can't. We've got 2 computers, but 4 people trying to get on them. And and you're right. When you want to have somebody be able to take a book in a car, you go into practice, you can get some work done. And that's something that a parent can say, hey, wait a minute, maybe if you don't have kids, you don't realize this, but here's an impact we're seeing. And we've seen that issue, everything from school start times to other things, where parents can say, understand the theory, let me tell you about our house.
Right? That's exactly how they feel. They get it, they're for it if it worked, but it's just not practical today. And I believe, Megan, you can correct me, but there's 5% of the households in Fairfax County that do not have any access to the internet. So that 5%, you know, they'd have to go to the school library. Well, with budget cuts, the library closes early. There's no access there. Then, you know, some resort to going to McDonald's or, to Starbucks and other places to get access to the internet. I mean, you don't want your kids out that late.
Right. And actually, I think that, you know, that access number, it doesn't necessarily mean that 95% have it in the home either. Sometimes that means people are going to libraries and public libraries, and that's very hard. And we always have to remember that, you know, we've got a diverse economic community in this county.
Yes, we
and
do.
we've got to remember the homes of the families that struggle with low incomes. They might not have a computer at all. And they don't have the ability to do some things that other parents might take for granted.
Right.
And those are the kids often who need the most as far as a responsive school system. And it's important that we're always making sure that they have the equal opportunity to learn.
Right.
So
Good.
we talked about textbooks, a little bit about school start times. What are the other issues that are on the plate of parents this year?
One of the issues that came up, and it was last year, we're in the stages of implementing this actually right now, but the internal cameras that are in the school, most of the schools, I know that Lake Braddock, not most of the schools, Lake Braddock has exterior cameras, and that really helped with vandalism, graffiti, all of that. It cut it down by 2/3. But we came up against a wall with the interior cameras because a lot of parents were concerned about where the cameras would be placed. Would the cameras be kind of looking over the shoulders of their children and in the lockers and this and that? So that was a big concern, but we did get that passed. And I think, you know, when you look at a school the size of Lake Braddock and Robinson and other schools, I mean, the space, the 2-story, you know, your main floor is 1/4 of a mile long with all the hallways and stairs and everything. It is really hard to be there in all those areas and hotspots, we call them, with our administration because they're kind of on a bare skeletal staffing too. So that was a big issue that we had last year, and we'll be getting the cameras this year. So we're really happy about that.
And we all are concerned about school safety, and you know that's one of those areas where parents and the schools and the county work together. The county has police officers, school resource officers in the school buildings, and then and even one step, you know, beyond that with children at need or at risk, our human service agency, our courts are, you know, all involved with our kids. So there's a lot of interaction, a lot of agencies and different entities that come together to deal with some of these issues.
Right. We even have, like in the middle school, we have an after-school program for the at-risk kids because there's a lot of latchkey kids in our school systems. And so we try to engage them in positive activities in our after-school programs. So.
You know, one of the great successes of a few years ago in the county was how quickly we turned around what looked like a building gang issue, including our schools. And when the counties and the schools and the prosecutors and the courts and everybody came together and very quickly turned that around, and you don't hear about it nearly as much now as even about 5-6 years ago. And that was, I think, a real success before our time on our boards, but where people saw a problem not too late, not after it was a huge problem, but they saw a trend emerging and jumped on it. And our schools, for as big as they are very safe, and we're very fortunate to have that.
Yeah, they are, and I think that as Judy pointed out, you know, the after-school middle school programs that we have, that absolutely the focus was, you know, students are finishing up school at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Their parents aren't home from work yet, and that lack of supervision is really putting those kids at risk. And so, you know, they're programs that are open to all students. My own children have really enjoyed and benefited from the after-school middle school programs. So it's a great way to ensure all kids at that age have something that's positive and helps develop those friendships outside the classroom as well. But that partnership you're talking about is so important, bringing the different agencies together. And I think that this year's school board, that's the focus, working with the board of supervisors. How can we coordinate services to the best of our ability so that our students K through 12 are going to be as successful as they can be, and that does take bringing the two boards together and trying to bring the resources together, and also being efficient, as I know something that's important. We're looking at limited county taxes and resources. So how do we not duplicate things, but really help make sure that everything that we've enjoyed offering to our students we can still afford to do.
And I know one of those issues that we all collaborate on because we're all concerned with it, the minority achievement gap. Our board's been, concerned with what used to be called priority schools. We have a number of Title I schools in the county, kids who are at risk or have greater needs or who face greater challenges. And I know the school board's looking at those issues as well.
It is, and that also, as in other issues, tends to be a national dilemma. Why do we have an achievement gap, and what are we doing effectively to help narrow that gap? And here in Fairfax County, it persists, and I think that the board is committed again to saying, well, let's look at the other school districts around the country that are finding success. What practices are they doing that we can perhaps adopt here in Fairfax County so that every child can be successful coming through our school system? About a third of our students may not go into a four-year college, but will go on to a two-year college or straight into the workforce. And that's a change in our graduation statistics here. So we need to be, again, be flexible in identifying the ways that we've been delivering services and what changes do we need to make. But I am confident that the commitment of both our board and your board, we're going to be moving in the right direction.
Judy, I know that parents are concerned about those issues as well. How much of the PTSA schedule is where does that fall, and what are the parents' thoughts on some of these issues?
Well, we as board members, we sit on the high school and the middle school parent advisory committees, and this is a huge focus on counseling services. So, they touch base with all the families. They make sure that the kids, once they leave high school, have post-secondary plans that are in place, and we support them through different grants and financially to help them. And we also provide some parenting classes after school, in the evening, for a lot of these different minority groups.
And I'll change the subject a little bit. One of the things that's starting to get talked about a little bit is homework. And it's funny, when I was a kid growing up, we thought of homework as something kids didn't want to do, but the parents wanted it. Now we're seeing parents saying, "Wait a minute, are we doing the right thing? Are we giving too much homework? What's the impact of on our students if they're up until 1 in the morning working on things and they're tired when they go to school? Is that really the best thing?" And what are you talking about on the PTSA?
Well, I think that what we have found, as far as the amount of homework, most of the students that have the 1 a.m. type of calls, they're taking AP classes, and they are planning to go on to college. And from my perspective, what I see of these kids is that they're well prepared for college. They are set. Actually, I don't know, Megan, if you've come across this, but the kids think freshman year is a little easier than high school, the rigors of high school. So it's a toll. I think that at this level that the teachers are aware of this, but to get through the coursework and to take the APs, you have to get through this. I mean, there's just no...
Well,
we're hearing it both because, it's interesting because you talked about the AP, which is, you're right, we've got a lot of kids in Fairfax County with parents like us who are type A, and we stay up half the night. And then we've got a lot of kids who are in a different situation, and I know the school board's hearing about that as well.
Yeah, but to the point that Judy was talking about with the homework loads, again, this has been a national conversation that I really would like our new superintendent and our school board to take very seriously, which is that the race to nowhere is where the conversation at a national level is saying it's about quality homework, not quantity, and to have AP teachers in that documentary note that you could cut the homework load in half, and the AP scores and the success of the students in those college level courses is just as strong. To hear Fairfax County graduates say they go on to freshman year in college and it is easier, I'm worried we're burning our students out. And so I would like to see again, a collaborative conversation with our teachers and our students about what's quality homework versus the quantity of homework. And there's a lot of research out there that, beyond 2 hours of homework a night at the high school level, and you're having diminished return. The brain needs to be able to sleep and absorb and file away everything it's learned for the day. And our students are learning that valuable opportunity for their brains to absorb what they've learned, and then have we really diminished everything that took place that day?
It's a great issue, and it's yet another issue where parents can bring a real-life perspective that can be matched with the research that you're talking about, so that when the school board's making policy, you've got the advantage of both the academic research, the parent perspective, and there's a whole lot of other issues like that we could talk about, but we're running out of time. I want to thank Megan and Judy for joining me today, and also for the time and dedication they offer for the betterment of Fairfax County schools. Educating our youth is vital, and because of the hard work and dedication of all those involved in our schools, Fairfax will remain one of the greatest places in the country to raise a child. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of Braddock Neighborhood News. Thank you for watching. If you have a question or a concern, please contact my office by email at braddock@fairfaxcounty.gov or by calling 703-425-9300. Tune in next month for another edition, and please remember to look for ways to volunteer. Your community needs you.